Oh,
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Poly1 Specialty Inc.'s Facebook Live. Today we are talking to Mark Gervais, a long, old friend. Not that you're old, but I've known you for a long time.
pretty old still.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks for having me.
So, first of all, we always like to start with our guests and say, give us a little brief bio on how long you've been in the industry, where you've been, and what's happening now.
Well, it's kind of I don't want to take up the whole show by talking about all that, but, it kind of started a good 40 plus years ago. I started printing circuit boards for a little company called Apple Computer back in the day. And shortly thereafter, I could figure out you could print a lot more than just circuit boards. Kind of wiggled my way around the PC industry for about 10 years, and then was trying to print t-shirts all the time, In fact, one of the first t-shirt jobs I printed was with Waterbase, and that's the irony of the whole thing. It goes full circle. So introduced to a t-shirt operation in the 90s, did that for about 3 years, competed with Golden Squeegees and things like that. Joined Wilflex as a technical applications guy on the West Coast. And that was kind of my vehicle to get around the industry and see different printing operations and learn a lot more. Kind of worked on the left coast for a good number of years for some of the bigger, licensed manufacturers with the brands, skate, surf, amusement parks, all that kind of stuff. And then back into some ink sales positions again with international coatings.
Right.
And that's what kind of led me across the water here to Asia. I was the Asia regional sales manager, and that kind of got me over to this side of the planet.
Well, you were a plastisol printer for years. Everybody knew you for that, how well you printed plastisol, and then you get over there, and now you are a water-based printer. How did that happen?
Well, it's what happened was being involved being an Asian regional sales manager, I saw a lot of opportunity. I saw a lot of people trying to print with automatic machines. Our dealer at the time was selling our inks, of course, but also selling automatic machines, and there was a lot of interest in getting to be automated with their printing operations. And one day he called me up and said, there's a company that wants to buy 16 machines, and they need a guy to come over here and teach them how to lay out the machines and teach them how to do the tricks that you do, and would you be interested in coming over? And I sold my cat and gave away my truck and put everything I owned in 4 suitcases and moved over here.
Wow.
So yeah, I took the big plunge, and that was back in 2005.
Right.
Yeah.
So the place you're at now, presently, you have quite a few machines. Do you care to share that with us, or?
Yeah, I had a couple of stops before I got here. I did a couple upstarts, a couple 0 to 60s where they had no machines, and then got machines running, and then I jumped to another place that had no machines and left there with about 18 machines behind us. Went to work for another ink company while the wife was pregnant, having a baby, and I spun around Asia again selling ink and trying to compete against you guys. Yeah. And I landed here, and I've been here now for 11 years, and this is at Ningbo Shenzhou. We've got 65 machines just outside the door here, and we have 2 operations in Cambodia, and we have another operation in Vietnam. And I think the machine count today is roughly 140 machines. So of all the locations. If
you're not the largest in the world, you're probably close, I would think.
We might be. We might be.
So when you were faced with a challenge to go, to Waterbase full time, what was your biggest fear at the time? Did you have any fear? I know you had some experience with other printers, but how was that?
No, that's kind of an interesting story in itself, Ray. That was like one of those life crisis moments because the first company I came to work for over here, we set up all the machines, got all the screen room ready, got the ink kitchen all ready. You know, we're getting ready to go to production tomorrow, and they say, I said, I'm going to go back to the ink room and get the inks ready for tomorrow. They said, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to get the inks ready. You know, we're going to run production. They go, oh, but we're not going to run those inks. We're going to run these Waterbase inks, these what they call rubber inks. And I said, what do you mean? I go, they only print those on tables. And they said, I know, but we're setting up the machine so we can put these inks on the machine and run those on the machine. And I distinctly remember calling my agent and asking him, what the heck have you got me into here? Because I don't know anything about printing these rubber inks on automatic machines. And he said, yeah, I know, but you're a smart guy. They do it all the time in Turkey, and I know you'll be able to figure it out pretty fast.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of those moments where you want to pack it all up and just come home in a hurry. So that was really, it was like sink or swim. You know, it was just really baptism by fire. It was amazing. Right. Yeah.
And I know Waterbase has evolved over the years, but at the time I would say, what was the biggest issues you saw when you tried to put it on the automatic?
Well, I think for me it was just a couple things, really. First of all, the opacity levels were definitely different. You know, with the Waterbase things compared to the plastisols that we were using, definitely different. I'd say even the adhesive on the pallets, you know, finding out these adhesives and the water and the flash curing and everything. And if you flash cure too hot, you're going to vaporize the water and then the piece is going to lift off the pallet. So that was another revelation. And I think the big thing was not being able to print wet on wet. You know, coming from the West Coast, we did a lot of, you know, flash the white plate, step on it 5 or 6 times, flash it again, keep going. And the requirements here in Asia were much different than the ones in US. They had to be perfect prints, so we had to flash everything, you know. I quickly found out on a 12-color machine with print flash cool, I was limited to, you know, 5 or 6 screens, and that's kind of when we started looking at developing the ovals again, and that's kind of where we are today with as many print stations as we can have.
Well, I guess my next question, if you had to do it all over again, what would be the biggest changes you would make? And I'm guessing probably larger machines. I kind of made a couple little notes on that. You know, I think if I had to do it all over again, what would I do? Is if I was starting today, like a lot of people are, I think they're in a much better position. You know, there's a lot more knowledge on the market. There's a lot more experience that people are willing to share, including myself. You know, I've tried to share this knowledge with people even as, you know, 8 or 9 years ago, I was trying to have onboard the Waterbase Ink crusade to the U.S. And I just think, you know, get as much knowledge as you can. It's out there, it's available, and you know, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be as hard as it was for me. There's a lot, you know. There's the crash course on how to get good at water-based printing a lot easier now. Right.
The other thing is I learned really quickly that in separations, you know, in plastisol printing, we're always looking at correction curves and dot gain and all these other things, but water-based kind of goes the other way. So you really need to understand that from film positioning and your separations, and you might want to relinearize your film output and see what your dot gain is, or dot loss actually. So depends if you're printing spot color, if you're printing, you know, gradient type stuff. That's a place I would have liked to have learned earlier, you know, had that knowledge. That's
a great point. That's one of our biggest problems when we're converting a plastisol printer to water-based is they're using the same piece of art. And they say, oh, look, the color's wrong. I said, well, actually, the color's probably right. You've been printing it with the wrong color all this time because of the gain with the plastisol.
Yeah, we call it coming up short, because they're not linking in, they're coming up short, and you get these gaps, and you're not experiencing that dot gain like we would normally experience with plastisol. So yeah, you need to take a look at that.
Do you have some of your favorite prints there that we can look at, or do you?
I got a couple on the wall here behind me that are some nice pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know the best way to show it. We do a lot of printing for the brands, and I got to be really careful about what we show. And some of the pieces I got behind me are just some of my little pet projects. I enjoy doing that. A lot of people go train for triathlons and all this other stuff. I just keep doing exercises with printing and separations and trying to create stuff. And I think what I enjoy doing is finding the different water-based techniques that are specialty but really work together. I get a lot of traction with, let's say, discharge, suede puff, basic HSA, and then being able to tap that with foil, because all of those things work well together because the time and temperature, they all work very well together. So let's see, this piece behind me over here, the hot rod print, that's some HSA up in the oval where the hot rod is. And then we've got some discharge going on in the background around the hot rod lettering. And then it's a gold foil that we've crinkled the foil and then laid on there as it comes out of the dryer. So, those are nice, fun little projects. And that's not done by the brand. That's just stuff that we use for, just for fun. I mean, just to keep ourselves in tune with some of these specialty inks.
Do you still put some stuff in the golden squeegees, or?
Yeah. This other one over here, this one up here, that's a really fun one. That was a stone carved window, a Chinese stone carved window. And what I did there is 5 different levels of puff.
Wow.
So what we did is worked with a really talented person in the industry. I'll kind of leave him nameless for the time being, because this is one of the FESPA awards. I'm still waiting for the FESPA awards to be announced. I know I'm shortlisted, but we still don't know what we got.
Right.
But until that's revealed, I kind of leave him as the anonymous guy at the moment. But he's pretty well known. Anyway, so we worked together, and what we did is we went into layers, and then by defining each of the different layers, we printed a different color puff ink. So there's 5 different levels. So it really creates the contours, the depth, and using the puff ink, which was really fun.
Wow, I can't wait to see that. That's awesome. Now, also, I know that, well, I don't know, you are getting into some digital squeegee or some hybrid, or?
Yeah, we got 9 of those things now.
So
just 9. Yeah, just 9 of them. Yeah, we really like that. It offers a lot of convenience for some of these really high resolution graphics. It's also a very sustainable thing. We sell that to the customers that are looking for more sustainable print methods. So, when you have your reduced screen counts, you're reducing the screen making, the energy, the emulsion, the labor, all that's involved in screens, a lot less ink waste that you would normally have. But yeah, we're throwing all different kinds of things at the hybrid. So printing over puff, printing over metallics, putting reflective over, under. We're having a lot of fun with that because, of course, digital does things that squeegees can't, and squeegees do things that digital can't. And when you start playing with the best of both worlds, you can really create not only a hybrid technique, but a hybrid embellishment. Right. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
So, you're obviously become an expert at that too. So you're enjoying it, and
it's been a lot of fun.
And I have to say, everybody out there, Mark's always been willing to share his ideas and talk about screen printing and now hybrid, and we've really learned a lot from Mark through the years, and we've always trying to embellish or create new inks and new types of inks and new types of effects we can make with our inks.
Exactly. You know, we lost a very dear friend last year with Joe Clark.
Oh yeah.
And I'll never forget when Joe pulled me over at one of those little mixers in Indianapolis, and you know, he laid into me one night. He says, "You know, Mark, you got to promise me you're going to give back to the industry what the industry has given you to get you where you are today." And you know, I said, "Joe, you're right," and I made that my mantra. So, you know, he says, "You don't own the information, you merely understand it. So give it away as freely as it was given to you." And you know Joe, like I knew Joe, and
He lived it.
and he lived it. And I said, "You know, Joe, between Joe and Kevin Davies and all those guys that were back in the day, you know, they installed that in me, and they said, remain teachable, just remain teachable, and reach out and try to share. You know, we don't own this stuff, we just understand it, and why not give it away?"
That's fantastic. I think that's a great way to end this, actually. That is fantastic. I mean, I think it's so true that we all try to strive to do that. And in today's world where everybody's trying to protect what they have, I mean, what we have is about the technique and how to apply things. We don't have anything to do with the inks or everything else that's being used. But once we get to that point, I think it's our duty to pass along what we've learned, and what we've learned is wrong, just as well, because you know I see in the eyes these guys are first coming off the screen and they're very wide open, they're ready to be taught, but they also have a lot of their own ideas, and sometimes you know they come up with an idea that's just going to be painful. Hey, sometimes you gotta go, and sometimes you tell them, hey, maybe we ought to try something else. But I sure appreciate you, Mark. I appreciate you coming on with us. Appreciate you being in the industry. If you have any parting shots, I mean, I don't know if it's anything better than what you just said, but enjoy living overseas, and you know, anything else you want to add?
Well, you know, you always got to be aware for the happy accident. You know, I mean, there's been a lot of discoveries that happen when I'm in the sample room working with guys, and they turn around and they strike off their screen over the top of something, and I go, wait a minute, look at that. And they go, what are you looking at? And I go, no, did you see what you did right there? You put that over the top, and look what it's doing. So you really need to be aware that, you know, the people that print on the inside of a shirt, right, and they push it through, you know, that was kind of a happy accident. Somebody did that, and you have to just be switched on and be aware and looking for these things, and don't be afraid to try stuff. You know, I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? You know, and you might be really shocked and amazed to just see what the heck happens if you put those two things together. You know, so
just as important. What I always say, just when that does happen, write down what you just did. If you can remember it. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate you coming on. I know it's late there, but we sure appreciate your time and knowledge. And anytime we can help you, or we may call on you again to help us, we appreciate it.
Sure, my pleasure. You know, thanks for sharing. Thanks for letting it out there. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.